Hi folks, Toad here with VisorDown.com in very sunny and ridiculously hot Jerez de la Frontera, and we are here for two bikes. So we've been at the 2020 model launch for the new R1 and the R1M, R1M, R1, VisorDown viewers. I'm going to keep it short and sweet, and I'll do a voiceover for all the specs and everything else because, to be honest with you, it's over 30 degrees. I've been on track all day and I am absolutely knackered. So, starting with the R1, this is going to be in dealership sort of second week of October in the UK, and the on-the-road price of this is 16,799. The engine is standard sort of R1 fare. It's pushing out about 200 horsepower. This has got the manually adjustable KYB shocks. And we were riding this 3 sessions this morning on the standard Bridgestone road tyres. Not ridden the standard R1 on track before. I've ridden the R1M on track about 4 weeks ago at the Silverstone Masterclass. And this is very good. It's very capable. Although it is quite lively, I think is the way that I'd describe it. It does like to move around quite a lot, and I think that's mainly to do with the tyres more than anything. It's got a revised intake injector as well, so the injectors previously sort of shot across the intake, and now the injectors sort of shoot directly down the intake and into the engine, so that's supposed to prevent the fuel in the air from sort of entering any kind of turbulence on the way into the engine. We've got 3, so new for this year, you've got two modes for cornering ABS, you've got 3 engine modes, and yeah, I did enjoy it, but I didn't like the way that it was a little bit flighty and a little bit, let's say, lively on track this morning. But the bike that I was really, really impressed with was this, the R1M. Now, the reason that I went to Silverstone the other week was to get a feel for the R1M on track, the outgoing model, so that I've got a sort of a starting point to work from when we came to the launch. And there is a big jump, there is a big leap. This new R1 is a lot more stable than the outgoing model. The suspension is just tuned beautifully. There's a few little ripples here at Jerez, especially at the end of the back straight into quite a tight right-handed hairpin, and it could unsettle this bike a little bit over the bumps and you get the ABS cutting in, but this thing just completely levels it out. So let's have a little look at some riding footage. I'll put a voiceover of all the detailed changes to the engine, suspension and everything else over that. Enjoy. So it's easy to think that most of the changes within the R1 and the R1M are purely to meet Euro 5 regulations, but actually there is a little bit more than that. The injector spray angle is probably the biggest news within the engine, along with the relocation of the throttle valves and reducing the intake volume. And they've actually made the frontal M1 inspired air intake at the front of the bike a little bit smaller. And some of it is to do with Euro 5 and some of it is to do with rideability and the torque delivery, which have been smoothed out a little bit. Not that it was bad before, but they've just kind of made it a little bit more accurate. And the whole bike, the engine in total, feels torquier low down, and it doesn't quite feel as peaky at the top end either. Altogether, it's still unmistakably an R1 with that MotoGP style exhaust note that you get. It's still very, very rideable. Probably more suited to road riding now with the increase in torque, whereas racers normally want something that's a little bit more peaky, but still such a wonderful little unit to use. And the fact that they've done that without losing any BHP and making it Euro 5 is just it's brilliant for me. I think that's absolutely excellent. The R1M is the bike that's obviously blessed with the electronic suspension control unit from Öhlins, and the R1 is fitted with Kayaba forks. The R1M, I could talk about it all day about how good it is, but in all honesty, it is as good and as planted and as on rails as the old bike. The thing that I found about riding the standard R1 with the Kayaba 43mm forks that are manually adjustable was that it needed some tweaking. There was some work to be done with that in terms of the rebound damping. It was just a little bit too fast, a little bit unwieldy, and in some of the faster corners in Jerez, you'd give a slight dab of the brakes and then release the brake, and the front end of the bike, it would feel like the yokes were sort of coming up and smacking you in the chin. It wasn't bad. And there are bikes out there that are a lot worse, but it's just something that you need to bear in mind if you're going to be one of those track-focused riders, that you are going to have to put some work or some money into the front forks. I think I said it before in my review of the R1M, the outgoing model. This model features the same Sumitomo calipers as the old one. The good news is that the braking system is no longer linked, which I found a little bit strange, especially at Silverstone in the wet. But they're still not the most precise and the most direct feeling brake calipers out there. They just feel a little bit wooden and a little bit spongy, and after about 2 or 3 laps of track riding, the brake had almost gone. You were pulling the lever right the way back to the bar, and then in your next session you'd get on a bike that had been rested and it just felt like a completely new braking system. So there's some work to be done there. It's really hard to sort of put these two machines against each other, and it's not fair to do so because they're so far apart in terms of performance and rideability and stability. So I'm just going to talk about the R1M, which is the bike that I've got the most experience with on the track, and that is what that bike is kind of designed to do. It's still a really quite physical bike. You still have to properly muscle it around a track. It's not some svelte sort of race bike feel to it where you can just sort of hook apexes together seamlessly with no effort at all. It takes a big old sort of heave to get it into a corner, but once you're there, you're rewarded with such a really planted and on rails almost feeling of going through the corner. It's a very stable bike. There's not a lot of things that you can do to it mid-corner that will upset it, and that's partly thanks to the excellent electronics that the R1M is blessed with, and also partly thanks to the chassis and the years of evolution that this bike has gone through. I still feel that if you're looking to make your way on track, a road-going R1M for a novice or semi-novice or mid-level track day rider would probably be the bike that most people can get stuff out of, because it doesn't have the peakiness of some of the other bikes out there. Alongside the cornering ABS and electronic suspension that I've already mentioned, the 2020 versions get new engine braking settings with 3 levels of intervention. You've also got launch control that's been rejigged to sort of activate at different RPM. You also get new ABS modes. So you've got BC1 and BC2, where BC1 is a fixed level of ABS sensitivity, which would probably be better for road riding, while BC2 mode has a flexible ABS setting that is dependent to the motorcycle's lean angle, attitude, speed, and everything else. So it's kind of like BC1 is passive ABS and BC2 is active, and it utilises all of the ECUs and the IMU's compatibility and sort of feeds all of that data into it. So there you have it, verdict. What do I think of these two bikes? £21,199 for the R1M, and the standard R1 is coming up at £16,799. Both bikes are a hell of a lot of machine for the money. If you want a Yamaha sports bike in your garage and you want 1000cc and you do a lot of road riding and barely any track riding, this will be ideal. It will be a bit cheaper to insure, it's cheaper to buy, and you still won't be able to get to the limit of what this bike can do on the road, I don't think anyway. If you ride on the road and you do a lot of track days, that is the machine that you need to go out and buy, because it is just riding these two today back to back, it was just night and day the difference. Fair enough, this is on slicks, this is on road tyres, and that's got electronic suspension, but for the extra 4 or 5 grand on top of the price of the R1, if you're going to be track riding, that is the one to get. I've been Toad, I'm going to go to the bar and get a beer. Thank you very much for watching Visor Down. There'll be a full review going up there very soon. Cheers folks.